So it seems like lately smart guitars are becoming more and more popular, and I happen to have 3 of them, 2 of which are by the brand Enya. This is the Inspire, I also have the Nova Ghost Sonic, and then I also have this one, which is the Divitone MF Studio. All of these guitars I've done demos of individually on my channel. You can find videos of each of them. And before I got the Divitone guitar, I only had both the Enya guitars, the Inspire and the Nova Ghost Sonic. So recently I made a comparison video between the Nova Ghost Sonic and this one, the Inspire. But now I have a different smart guitar by a different brand. I thought it would be also interesting to make a comparison between the Enya smart guitar and the Divitone MF Studio smart guitar. Because if we're going to see more and more of these things pop up on the market, then it just begs the question, which one is the right one for you? So that's what I want to talk about in this video, so if you're interested in that, stick around. But firstly, I want to say that I'm not going to go through which one I think is better. This isn't a competition. This is just me taking a look at both these guitars, talking about the aesthetic, talking about the features, everything like that, so you can make a decision on which one you prefer if you ever feel like getting one. So on a first glance, both of these guitars don't look totally different. Other than the obvious color differences, they both have a whammy bar. They're both S-style, super strat style guitars, I guess you could say. And interestingly on these two, both of them have the fret markers at the top of the fretboard, as you can see, which I don't think is copied, I think it's just coincidental. And then also looking at the bottom, this has 2 knobs and a selector switch, and this has 2 knobs and a selector switch. And this dial here, closest to the strings on both of the guitars, is the power button for these guitars. So that's how you turn both of these guitars on. You press and hold the button closest to the strings there, which is also a volume control as well. The Inspire guitar, you press and hold this button, the one closest to the strings, and it's the master volume too. Same on the Divitone MF Studio. Both of these guitars have 24 frets also. This one doesn't have fret markers all the way up to the 24th, but the MF Studio does. You can see the double dot there on the 24th fret. And both of these guitars also have the truss rod adjustment at the bottom of the neck. You can see that little pocket there at the bottom of the neck on both of these guitars. That's where you adjust the truss rod. Why do I find it so hard to say truss rod? It's a really hard word for me. I don't know why. And if we look at the back of the guitars, obviously both of them, you can see that's where the springs are for the tremolo system, and they're both string through. You put the string through the back of the guitar to restring it. And neither of these guitars have locking tuners, just to put that out there. So So that right there is most of the similarities between the two guitars, but I do want to talk about the differences because that's what's probably going to make you make a better decision if you want to get one. It's not just about looks and aesthetics, it's about what the guitars do, but there are some other aesthetic differences between the two that I want to quickly talk about. So one of the easiest things to notice is the pickup configuration on the Enya Inspire. There is SSH, whereas the Divitone is just a HH, humbucker, humbucker. But one thing that's really interesting about the Enya guitars, and it's the same on the Nova Go Sonic. By the way, the Nova Go Sonic was a HH also, so you actually had the pickup differences between the two Enya guitars. Go and check out the comparison I made between both of those Enya guitars if you like after this. But yeah, one thing that's really interesting about the Enya guitars is that they are push-pull as well, which does change how the pickups sound. The Divitone MF Studio isn't a push-pull, but I want to come back to that because that doesn't mean that you can't get those same tones with this guitar. I'm going to talk about that later. But one of the main differences between the two, and I think this is really going to be what divides people and whether they like this or they don't like this, is that Enya guitars are known for having an inbuilt speaker. So you can turn the guitar on and have your tones straight from the guitar itself. The MF Studio guitar does not have an inbuilt speaker, so if you want to hear the tones that the smart guitar, the MF Studio has, you need to plug it into something. So that is one big difference between these two guitars. And if you're thinking, you know what, I want a guitar where I can have the sound built in and hear it without having to plug it into anything, then maybe the Enya guitars are the way to go. The same on the Nova Go Sonic that also has an inbuilt speaker. The Nova Go Sonic has a 10 watt, this is a 15 watt speaker on the Inspire. So next, aesthetically, I guess another really important feature about these guitars is the Enya guitars are actually made from carbon fiber, whereas the MF Studio, more traditional, it's a wooden guitar, which does feel really different, I must say. And does that affect the tone? I haven't really noticed a massive difference tonally, to be honest. And because the Enya guitar is basically molded from carbon fiber, that means it's just a one piece. So the entire guitar is a molded guitar, one piece, whereas the Divitone, you can quite clearly see it's a bolt on, it's wooden, it's got a body, it's got a neck, and they're attached with the 4 bolts at the back there. So one piece, bolt on. One thing I do actually quite like about the Enya guitars is the same on the Nova Go Sonic is the 0 fret there. You don't normally get that on guitars where right after the nut there is a fret. I feel like that might actually help with things like tuning stability, intonation and stuff like that, because sometimes when the strings just go straight through the nut, if the nut is cut quite high, then when you press the strings down, you actually end up bending them out of tune, which is terrible for intonating chords. I feel like the 0 fret actually helps with that because the fret isn't as high as the nut, so the strings kind of go down from the nut to the fret, and then the frets are kind of more level so that when you press the string down it's not going as far. I do like the 0 fret on these guitars. The Divitone does not have a 0 fret. And I've only just noticed that, interestingly, both of these headstocks are actually quite a similar shape. They're not exactly the same, but they are quite similar. I just thought that was an interesting thing to point out because headstocks matter. So let's talk about the actual inputs of the guitars, where you actually plug things in, what you can plug in, all of that sort of stuff. So on the Divitone, we have this little recessed part of the body there at the back, and you can plug your guitar in there. There's an auxiliary headphone slot there and a USB-C slot, that's where you charge it, that's where you connect it to your computer. One of the main things that you want to do with these guitars is keep the firmware updated, and you can do that by plugging the guitar USB straight into your laptop, your computer, download the software from the websites and update it that way. And we have the exact same things on the Inspire. We have the guitar input, the USB-C, and the headphone there, and it's on the side of the body. There's no recessed part of the back or anything like that, just there on the side for you ready to plug in. And I want to quickly mention that both of these guitars function as normal guitars too. They're smart guitars, but they are also just normal regular guitars. All the clips of me playing both of these guitars that I'm going to put throughout this video is both of these guitars just plug straight into my normal guitar rig there. I'm playing over backing tracks. I'm not actually using the sounds from the guitar in this video because that would be an entirely different video. It would take too long. So for now, both of these guitars will just plug straight into my normal rig, and I just played over backing tracks. And if we take a look at the back of the Divitone guitar, I can actually take this off and reveal the battery, which I could then change. Let's just say I ever needed to, the battery died or whatever, I needed to get a replacement. I can just get a replacement of this battery. Don't off the top of my head know which one it is. And I quite like that we have that access to that. Whereas the Enya Inspire, the battery is literally built into the guitar. You can take this back compartment off there. Maybe you could get to it that way, which I haven't actually done yet, but yeah, it's not as easy access to the battery in this guitar. So now I want to talk about the functionality of these guitars and what they actually do, because it is quite different. On the Enya Inspire and the Nova Go Sonic, there is 4 different preset sounds built into the guitar, and you can cycle through them using this button. It goes from clean, crunch, distorted to a lead tone, and it just cycles up and down, well, mainly just up continuously through those 4 tones, and you press this button to cycle through them. The Inspire also does come with a foot switch also, which is really useful. So if you want to go from the clean to the lead, you can just do that in a jump rather than cycling up through them with this button there. And you can change and edit those sounds by hooking it up to the Enya app. So you can make a different clean tone, a different crunch tone, a different lead tone. You can maybe even change them. I actually haven't tried that yet. So I could change the clean to more of a crunch, or maybe change all of them to 4 different distortions. I don't know if you can do that. I haven't tried to do that yet, but for the time being, let's just assume it's clean, crunch, distortion, and a lead tone. And you can edit all of those tones and save your presets on the Enya Inspire app. It will just then sync up to the guitar and save them that way. And the selector switch, it's a 5-way selector switch which just controls the tone of the pickups, and as I said, you can push pull as well for different tonal options. But the MF Studio is actually quite different. You do get the Divitone app, and you do hook this guitar up to the app where you can customize all the sounds similar to the Inspire. But the selector switch here is a 5-way selector switch, but each different position of this switch is a different tone. So let's just say I'm at the bridge position there, I'm on tone 1, tone 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I can cycle through my tones that I've saved to be in those positions with the selector switch there. So it's not a button, it's a selector switch. I think that's really cool. So that means that the Divitone guitar has 5 tones that you can select between, whereas the Inspire has 4. But here's the thing when it comes to the Divitone MF Studio. The tones on the app, I would say there are far more options for tone on the Divitone app than the Enya Inspire app. The Enya Inspire, you have limited amps and limited controls of what you can actually change. You can add some modulation, some reverb, some delays and things like that. You can save those, but you've only really got about 4 different sort of tones and maybe only 2 different amps that you can really flip between, more of a clean amp and a distorted amp. The Divitone has so many different types of amps. It's basically an amp modeler. So if you ever have like an amp modeling pedal, it's basically that in a guitar. You can also EQ, and as I said earlier, the Inspire guitar has that push-pull. This one doesn't, but you can also make it so that these pickups have either a humbucker or a single coil tone. You can even replicate the tones from specific guitars like Strats, Telecasters, Les Pauls, 335s, and assign all of that to your preset slots. But not only that, this selector switch there can be changed on the app to be used as a normal selector switch, which just changes from your bridge pickup to your neck pickup or your in-between settings. And it's a 5-way. So it can be used to be a preset selector, or it can be used to be a pickup selector. You can change that on the app. So when it comes to the smart features, I would potentially say that the Divitone MF Studio has a lot more. But as I said, the Enya Inspire has the speaker, so you can hear those tones immediately through this guitar. It's very portable, you can hear it anywhere. Just turn the guitar on and there you go, there's your sound. Unless you have headphones, which both these guitars take. So there you go, that's quite a thorough and in-depth look at the differences and similarities between these two smart guitars. As I said, it's not me saying which one I think is better. I like both of these guitars. I think they're both quite different. It's hard to compare them in that way. I'm very fortunate to have both, and I want to say a massive thank you to Enya and Divitone for sending me these guitars to check out. I really enjoy using these guitars. They get used a lot. If you're interested in trying any of these guitars out, I will leave links in the description below. But anyway, I want to know what you guys think. Which guitar do you like the look of better? Which guitar do you think has the better features? Which guitar would you have? Let me know what you think in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like I said, leave me a comment. If you did also, then like the video. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, then please do. I make lots of guitar and music related content, and hopefully I'll see you next time. So take care.